Hi guys, I'm going to take you through this assignment, the electric force graph assignment. And for this assignment, we're going to have to draw a graph in our science notebook, so I'll help you with that as well. But anyways, first I put my name and my class period at the top. Now I've got this data. You can see that we're changing the distance we are from an electric charge and then measuring how the electric force has changed. And then we need to go ahead and graph that data. Number 1 says create a line graph, include axis labels, title, and an evenly spaced scale for each axis. So let's pretend this screen over here on the left is my science notebook. So I'm going to actually make it a little bigger so I've got room. Okay, here's my science notebook. And I'm going to start by making a title in my science notebook. So I'm going to title it Electric Force Graph. Sorry, my handwriting is messy because it's hard to write on the screen. Electric Force Graph. And we always underline our titles and then update that in our table of contents. Now below that, I'm going to go ahead and draw an X and Y axis. The X is the bottom one and the Y is the vertical one. Now the thing that we put on our X axis is the thing that we change. And if we look over here at our data, the thing that we change is the distance we are from a charge. We can't change the electric force, but we can change how far away we are from the charge. So let's go back over to our science notebook. I'm going to go down below the title. We can change distance from charge. So I'm going to write that on the x-axis, title, distance from charge. Notice I gave myself lots of space between the x-axis and the title because I'm going to have to put some numbers here. So I gave myself lots of space. So if distance from charge, it goes on the x, that means electric force is going to go on the y. So I'm going to try and write this sideways on the y-axis, electric force. And I tried to leave myself lots of space between the y-axis and the title so I can put some numbers there. Now let's decide what numbers we're going to put. So the smallest number on our x-axis data is 0.2. And it looks like the biggest number is 0.56. So I'm actually going to go by 0.1s because that sounds like it'll be an easy way to do it evenly spaced. Remember, it's got to be evenly spaced. You can't just copy these exact numbers. You've got to do it evenly spaced. So I'm going to start with 0 in the corner. And then I'm going to go 0.1. So it's like 0.1, but I'm just putting 0.1. 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, and so on. And you know what? I could have spread those out a little more because my biggest number is 0.56, but what I've got here is going to be fine. And then let's look at our y-axis data. It looks like the smallest number we have is 5, and the biggest number we have is 44. So I've decided I'm going to count by 5s. Remember, we can't copy these exact numbers over. That's not evenly spaced. So we have to choose our own scale that's evenly spaced, and 5 sounds like a good one to me. So 0's in the bottom corner, and then go by 5s, 5, 10, 15. I might run out of space on this one. Plus, it's hard to draw on my computer screen. Okay, and my biggest number is 44, so I don't need to go any higher than 45 on my y-axis. Now it's time to plot my data points. It says to do a line graph, so we're going to do dots, not bars. That would be for a bar graph. So my first point is 0.2, 44. So that means I find 0.2 on the x-axis, trace it up to 44 on the y. There's no 44 on the y, so I have to estimate it. It's between 40 and 45, probably closer than 45, or closer to 45, right? And then where those two meet is where I'm going to make a dot. And you can see that dot roughly lines up with 44 and 0.2. You don't actually need those two lines I drew. I just drew those to show you how they line up. That's how I decide where to put the point. The next point we have is 0.2335. So 0.23, I'm going to have to guess. 0.23 is in between 0.2 and 0.3. Because 0.2, I'll write this over on the side and then I'll erase it later. 0.2 is the same thing as 0.20, and 0.3 is the same thing as 0.30. So between 0.2 and 0.30, we would have 0.21, 0.22, 0.23, etc., all the way to 0.29, and then we get to 0.3 or 0.30, okay? So 0.23 is going to be in between 0.2 and 0.3. Since 0.2 is like 0.20 and 0.3 is like 0.30. So now I'm going to go back and erase all that extra stuff I wrote. And 0.23 is going to be like here-ish. And so then I'm going to trace that up to 35 on the y. Where those two meet, I'm going to make a dot. Remember, you don't need those extra lines. I just draw them so that you can follow what I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and try to erase those lines. Okay. And then you just go ahead and keep plotting the points. So like the next one is 0.26. 0.26 is going to be in between 0.2 and 0.3 as well, right? So 0.26 up to 27, which is like about right there. So I've got 27.26. That's going to be, oops. Got to switch to my pencil. Here we go. So 27.26, that's going to be like about there-ish. And then next one is 0.29 and 22. 0.29 is going to be really close to 0.3. And then 22, of course, is a little bit above 20. So that's going to be like right there-ish. Mine's not exact because I don't have grid paper, but that's okay. Next we have 0.32 and 17. So 0.32 will be like about there, a little bit past 0.3. And then 17 will be about up here. So we've got that one. Next we have 0.36 and 13. So 0.36 will be there-ish. 13 is going to be a little bit before 15. Next is 0.4. 0.4 is the same thing as 0.40. So 0.4 is actually on our scale. And then 12 is going to be about there. So we'll make that dot there. 0.44 is going to be here-ish, a little bit in between 0.4 and 0.5. And that one's at 10, which is on our scale. Next we have 0.48, which is close to 0.5. And then 7, which is a little below 10. Then we have our last point, 0.56 and 5. So 0.56 is going to be in between 0.5 and 0.6. And then 5 is on our scale. Oh yeah, this graph is looking pretty good. So now let's go ahead and connect these dots with lines. And whoops, I just missed one. I better start over. I'll do one at a time. And we connect them from left to right. And I went a little too far on that one. Whoops, it's hard to draw on this computer screen. Okay, so this graph is good, except it's missing one thing, a main title. For the main title, we take the x-axis title and the y-axis title, and we smash them together. So a good main title for this one would be distance from charge versus electric force. Distance from charge versus electric force. Awesome, and I always try to underline titles so we can tell that they're a title. There we go. So this is a perfect graph. And you can see from this graph, if you get farther away from a charge, the electric force gets smaller. Here we're closer to the charge and the electric force is high. Over here we're farther from the charge and the electric force is low. So the farther away you are, the weaker the electric force is. And I'm going to do another video that'll help you with the rest of the assignment.